Hello, old friends. Sorry. I haven't been uploading here much because of the baby, which he's not even here yet, but you now know, maybe, if you're following my side channel, ReactEmUps, my wife and I announced we are having a baby. Very excited. This is the first video I've got to shoot since we announced that, and we've just been trying to get the house ready. We're trying to build out the baby room. We're just trying to get things organized. We're in panic mode. We don't really know what we're supposed to do. So yeah, this channel, I just kind of pushed it to the back of my mind for a little while. Today's a weird day too. We got to take Darla to the vet for a checkup. She's completely fine. But I have some time. I woke up early, so I have some time before we take her. And I really just wanted to make a video here again. And I really haven't been paying too much attention to gaming news recently, so you'll forgive me for talking about Xbox once again. And I don't want to be too negative. You guys know that with Xbox, my mindset isn't in the best place right now. I'll catch you up to speed. Huge Xbox fan. The Xbox 360 is one of my, if not, definitely one of my favorite consoles of all time, and it's really high up there. I don't know if I could ever put it above a Nintendo system for me just because of nostalgia and Zelda, but my God, is it close. It really is my favorite console outside of anything Nintendo has done. I've done this a few times already, so you'll have to forgive me for showing off, but all of these 360 games are all mine from my, I guess you would say, childhood that I've held on to. They all mean a lot to me, and man, it's just one of the best video game libraries from third parties and first party Xbox themselves. And to just watch their slow decline since that console, not even that slow really, because straight into Xbox One, there wasn't too much to love, and then it just got worse and worse until we're here now with the Series X. Barely any, if any, first-party games. Nothing's exclusive to the console anymore. There's no real reason to own an Xbox. Xbox's new branding is everything is an Xbox. If you have a phone, if you have an iPad, if you have anything, you essentially have an Xbox. So what is the point of Xbox? And why did Xbox buy out 13 studios to make no games outside of Bethesda? And while some Bethesda games kick ass, this new Doom, super excited to play that on my PlayStation 5 Pro, because why wouldn't I? I spent $700 on it. I may as well push the game to its max. Have you seen the original Doom when it's running at 120 frames? It's insane. I want that, so I'm going to use my Pro. But then you also have games like Starfield, this big, expansive open world, not really space exploration game that should have been everything I've ever wanted out of a starship space exploration game, but it was a watered down version of a Fallout game. It was less explorational than 2014's Fallout 4. I actually don't know when. Let me see how close I was. 2015, I was so close. Pulled that out my ass. Got real close on that one. And it just keeps getting worse as Xbox has gone back on something they said really less than a year ago, and now they're just porting all of their games elsewhere. Look, that's a lot, and we're going to talk about as much as I can today before I take Darla to a vet, which, but again, she's just getting a checkup. Let's react. Now, you might remember this because I'm pretty sure I put it in one of my rant Xbox videos on this channel recently, but this is what Phil said like a year ago.
4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not.
So that was him a year ago saying these 4 games, which at the time, I don't remember what the 4 games were. Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and Pentiment. Yeah, that was it. So this is him saying that, hey, just these 4 games, that's what's going to other consoles. Don't worry if you're an Xbox fan. Don't get your knickers in a twist, you know. We're not going to go crazy doing all of the games. Just these 4 offshoot games, all right? Okay, cool, all right. Let's fast forward to a year later.
And it does mean more of our games shipping on more platforms, not just PlayStation. We love the work that we do with Nintendo. We love what we do with Valve on Steam. And that's going to continue. We'll just continue to do more of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a different message, right? So this is in reference to, well, I mean, it speaks for itself, but you've heard of Halo. You might have heard Halo's coming to PlayStation, and the rumor is Nintendo. Essentially what he's saying without saying it, you know, we got games coming to Switch too. We've got games coming to PlayStation, and those games are all of our games. Indiana Jones, Halos, Gears of War is most likely not off the table. And trust me, in the case of Gears of War, I'm actually for it because Gears of War is one of my favorite properties of all time. I love that franchise. It is so underrated. I honestly prefer it over Halo. It's a personal preference. I prefer third person over the shoulder shooters than first person shooters, just personally. And I find the story far more engaging. I love the characters. I love the multiplayer, and it's just so underappreciated. Gears of War is so underappreciated. Gears of War 2 and 3, come on! I'm very excited for the next game. And the concept of like those first 3 games, even a trilogy pack coming to Switch for more people to get to play it and enjoy it and experience Gears of War. I'm actually for it in that case because I feel like Gears of War is dying on Xbox for some reason, even though it's a perfect Xbox franchise. But the messaging in general of a year ago saying, it's just these 4 games, don't freak out. Don't freak out, Xbox fans that have supported the console, and the only reason to buy a console is for the exclusives, even though we don't understand that. We don't think exclusives help a console at all. Don't freak out. And then a year later, expect more of it. Expect a lot more of what we're doing here with putting our games everywhere else. So, and there's another wild and wacky twist in there too, because... And I want to talk more about this exclusive thing, but Phil Spencer has actually said, as of January 27, we want our hardware to win. Which, I don't know how you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't shovel out your software to every console property IP manufacturer that will take it, and then also say, but we want our console to do the best. Why would it? This is the wildest thing that I don't understand what Xbox is thinking or doing or the way they perceive the gaming industry at the moment. They have gone on record, and we've talked about this before, I'm not going to bother pulling it, saying they don't think exclusive games can help them win the console war. They don't think exclusive games sell a console. They don't think exclusive games or building out an exclusive game library will increase the sales of hardware, which is a batshit thing to say, because you look at Nintendo, an underpowered console for the last 8 years that sold 140 million. They did that on the back of video games. Nintendo didn't have a super crazy, and this is what they're talking about here. We want our hardware to win. We want a generational, next gen, like, we want our console to be the best one, like the most powerful, the fastest, all of that, right? We want our hardware to win. Nintendo won with literally a shit brick. Like, sorry to swear twice, but I don't know how else to get my emphasis across. I actually learned on my Nintendo podcast last week that Nintendo sell the Switches at a profit, which is nuts. Xbox and PlayStation sell their consoles at a loss. At a loss, which is how I actually thought Nintendo was operating too. It's how I thought all these companies operate. I thought they spend $1,000, $1,500 per unit on a console. They sell it for $500. They lose like 60% on the sale, but once you're in the door, you're buying the subscription services, you're buying their digital games, and very quickly they're making their money back per customer. But no, Nintendo actually makes money off their hardware, and the reason why I'm pointing this out is because their hardware, their Switch, costs Nintendo $250 to make per unit. A Switch costs $250 to make. They're selling it at $300. They're profiting $50 per console and $250 to make the console. It's 2025. There's not much you can buy for $200 these days. You can't go grocery shopping for 2 people for less than $200 these days. And Nintendo's making a whole console that sold 140 million, this underpowered brick. This is the point I'm getting at. This underpowered $200 loose change of a console outsold everything else, 140 million units. Do you think they did that, Xbox, based on raw power? By being a brick crap house, by being better than the competition console-wise? No. Please, can someone watching at Xbox listen to what I'm saying? No one's watching. Can someone at Xbox watch this video? No, they did it with their exclusive game library. They did it with the Switch having games. Like, it needed both things, right? It needed exclusive games and it needed third-party support because it can't live just based on its exclusives. It can't live without its exclusives. It also needs the third-party support. It needed a perfect scenario of both, and that's what it got. Xbox, you have the third-party support, mostly because you've bought out most of the third-party competition. You need the exclusives, and you need to stop giving them away. Make a good game and keep it. That's how the hardware wins. I don't know how you don't get that. Look at Nintendo and even look at PlayStation. They're beating you because they have exclusives. The PlayStation 5 wasn't necessarily more powerful than the Xbox Series X. Technically, the Series X was a little bit more powerful, could squeeze a little bit more out of the graphics. It's just the PlayStation 5 had a better SSD, I believe, if I'm recalling that correctly. But either way, they were essentially a 1-for-1, right? A 1-for-1. And PlayStation outsold you by like 4 or 5 times because it had games. That is the only difference. Believe me, if you were to ask most gamers to look at a PlayStation 5 and look at an Xbox and pick one based on aesthetics, they're probably going to pick the Xbox because it's nice, clean, and just looks like something that would fit in most living rooms, rather than the spaceship, rather than the reverse Oreo sandwich with sharp points. The PlayStation, like just based on aesthetics, I think people are going to pick the Xbox. No, they went PlayStation because of Spider-Man, because of God of War, because of Last of Us, because of 10 other IPs that you can't get anywhere else. This isn't news. This isn't... Phil Spencer said the company aims to win by providing the best experience out there. At the time, Spencer admitted times have changed. These days, it's game-first market as opposed to a platform-first, he said. I don't even understand. I don't really understand what he... It's kind of always been game first as opposed to platform first, right? When has it ever been platform first? I don't even understand what that means. You pick a platform based on the games and properties that it has. I don't think you pick a platform based on anything else. What? You know, PlayStation and Xbox, your consoles have always been tied for power. It's always picked game first. It's what games does this console have? I prefer Halo. I prefer God of War. Okay, I'm picking this one. I'm picking this one. I don't get this. I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how it fits into the choices they want to make about where they play. We want hardware to win based on hardware capabilities that we have. Great, good for you. Good for you, but that's not how it works. This is the same mentality they had recently. I'm referencing a lot of things we've talked about without pulling it, and I apologize. It might seem badly researched, but I'm just talking out my ass at this point. We recently took a look at something Phil said where he said he doesn't like that he doesn't like what the game wars have done, and that there's the console, he doesn't like the console wars, and that there's no competing with PlayStation at this point. And no amount of exclusives he thinks can fix that. Now he's saying he just wants people to pick Xbox based on the hardware capabilities that it has. Nobody cares. I gotta be honest, nobody cares. Even with the PlayStation 5 Pro, barely any people upgraded to it because 1, it was expensive, and B, it was barely an upgrade, and they could still play the games they liked on the previous model. People buy the underpowered Switch for the games. People don't buy based on the hardware, and you're not gonna change people's mind. If people bought consoles based purely on the hardware, they probably have a PC, to be honest. If that's all they cared about is how good things looked and what the hardware was capable of, they'd probably just have a PC. Like, you're trying to target the PC master race type of thinking, and that already exists with a PC. People aren't just going to buy a console because it's more powerful. They're just not. Not unless, like... And this is just an extreme. And still, I think it's even a niche case. If the next Xbox came out and it's 2 or 3 times more powerful than the PlayStation 5 or 6, let's say, and the third-party games on it look starkly different. And I'm not talking PlayStation 5 to PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm talking like everything is somehow, maybe even at 8K 60 frames. Like something insane that when you look at it compared to looking at a PlayStation 6 game, it's night and day difference. Like one's being ran on an old, bulky 1990s laptop and the other one is like a high-end PC. Like if you can get an actual big difference out of current generation games being played on both, then maybe people would pick up an Xbox and forego those PlayStation exclusives if they don't care about those exclusives. Maybe that's the use case here. But I just don't see a way you can make something that much better and keep it in the same affordable bracket without taking a huge loss, while at the same time offering Xbox to everybody who has a phone, who has a tablet. Xbox is everywhere. Everything is an Xbox. But at the same time, here's a really powerful Xbox that you can buy for hopefully a decent price, but also your phone can just stream the same quality of game. I feel like I've just gone on this same Xbox rant so many times, but they keep coming out with these messages that makes no sense. They keep doubling down on these thoughts and these ideas that make no sense as a company. They are actively failing, and then the one thing that they can do to make things better is to just have good games. That's the one thing. The one thing. And every time they make even a slightly good one like Indiana Jones, they just give it to PlayStation. And then say, I hope people still pick us anyway because our hardware is better. This is why this doesn't work. You can make the most powerful console ever, Xbox. You can make something 3 times better than PlayStation. If you're not doing exclusive games, nothing is utilizing the hardware, right? The third-party developers making games for console, they're going to have to keep the PlayStation in mind. So they're going to have to work within the PlayStation's limits when they design games. So when it comes to your console, sure, maybe they can uncap some frame rates. They can boost up resolutions a bit. But the game still has to be designed at its core to work on the PlayStation. So unless you're doing exclusives, and your exclusives, you're always giving to PlayStation. You're giving to Nintendo. So now when you design those games, you have to think of those consoles too. You are limiting yourself. Xbox makes a really powerful console. They go to design a game that if they just made it exclusive for their console, it could be insane. It could look awesome. It could be 3 times better than the competition. But they themselves then have to go, but it has to play on PlayStation. So now Xbox is going to have to design games with the PlayStation in mind, you know? And the third-party developers too. Like, they can't utilize your console to its full extent because they're designing for PlayStation, you know? I'm just repeating myself. I can't. I'm losing my mind. It's like I'm not a CEO. I'm not in charge of a gaming company. I would probably suck at this job, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't. Actually, I think I could do a pretty good job at Xbox, being a big fan and knowing what Xbox gamers want. But maybe I'm just an idiot and I could not run a company. But even saying that, I read this messaging. I read this. And you gotta remember, as an Xbox fan, as someone who loves Xbox and wants to see them back on top and wants a reason to get back into the Xbox ecosystem, I read this and I think that's not what I want. That is not what I've been looking for. That's not why I remembered loving you guys. When I bought a 360, I didn't give 2 squirts a piss how much more powerful it was than a PlayStation 3. To be honest, at the time, I bought an Xbox because I had a Nintendo Wii and I wanted a more powerful console. And the only reason I picked an Xbox over a PlayStation, I didn't have a PlayStation 3 back in the day, was because of Gears of War, was because of Halo, was because of the games that Xbox could provide, that I wanted to play those games. As a fan of Xbox, I look at what I want from them, and it's none of this. It's just games. I just want a really great Fable. And if you bring out a great Fable and you cross-release it on PlayStation, I'm sorry, Xbox, I'm gonna buy it on PlayStation because I bought the stupid Pro and I feel like I need to justify it. But I bought the Pro because I'm in that ecosystem with PlayStation because they have great games. And I bought a Pro so that my PlayStation games like Spider-Man and God of War look better, you know? And also I'm a YouTuber and I felt like I was forced to. But I'm in that ecosystem, you know? And if you bring out a game on both, I'm just going to stay on that ecosystem at this point. You need to give me a reason to jump over. And I want one. Please give me one. Give me a reason to want a more powerful Xbox. Give me a reason. And those reasons are games. A new Gears of War that you hopefully won't cross-release on PlayStation. I was gonna try and keep this more pleasant, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I got so upset. I couldn't do it. All right, I want to know your thoughts. Are you an Xbox fan of old? What do you feel about this messaging? Is just releasing a really powerful hardware in hopes that they win the hardware war by putting out something cooler and more innovative than PlayStation enough? Are the games as important as I think, or am I insane for thinking that games are that important? Is there something I'm missing here? Is Xbox heading in the right direction with their recent choices? Is telling us Xbox loyalists that it's only 4 games to a year later telling us you can expect all the games? Are they literally, do they care about the fan base at all at this point? These are the questions that I have as someone who is a fan, as someone who booted up their Xbox yesterday to start Indiana Jones, ended up getting distracted and playing Space Marines 2 on my PlayStation 5, a game, by the way, that was inspired by Gears of War. Can I please just get a new Gears of War? Leave your thoughts down below. Like, comment, and hit flip on that subscribe button, and I'll hopefully see you very soon.